Jerry Springer, a man with a show so fake and staged, it makes prank YouTube look believable. And I bet you didn't know this, he was technically a politician once. He was born in London during World War II, moved to America, and decided politics is fine, but what if I let strangers punch each other on TV instead? And the rest is daytime television history. The show started in the early 90s, back when America was trying to figure out what classy meant and decided the answer was not this. The Jerry Springer Show was pitched as a talk show, but that's like calling Mad Max a driving tutorial. Guests would come on to reveal shocking secrets like cheating, hidden pregnancies, occasionally the small matter of marrying your cousin. The audience would gasp, Jerry would nod like a disappointed uncle, and then inevitably someone would remove a shoe and attempt to commit light battery on live television. And Americans loved it. They absolutely ate it up. Like a nation collectively saying, yes, I'd like to watch two people argue about who the real father is while the crowd chants, Jerry, Jerry, like it's the Roman Colosseum, because that's what it was, gladiator combat, but everyone's in denim shorts and emotional distress. And the format never really changed. Someone cheats, someone cries, security guard Steve steps in like a bouncer at a kebab shop, and Jerry acts surprised, as if he didn't personally invite these people knowing full well someone was about to get slapped with a folding chair. It's basically Shakespeare for people who think Love Island has too much character development. Now the thing is, and I'm sorry to break this to you, a lot of it was staged. Turns out, when you offer people a free hotel stay and TV airtime, they'll happily pretend to be in a love triangle with a man named Bubba Joe the exotic dancer. Many of the guests were amateur actors, some had cue cards. Whole confrontations were rehearsed, but American audiences didn't care. They knew it was all fake, they just didn't mind. And if they didn't know it was fake, no one bothered to tell them, including the show itself. Because America's relationship with authenticity is somewhat confusing, and the show got away with so much. Swearing, chair throwing, people stripping mid-argument, all broadcast at lunchtime. Meanwhile, in the UK, we had an authentic show called Jeremy Kyle, where all the outlandish events of incest and cheating with the partner's dad were real. Christ, I mean, half the guests on there had the same amount of fingers as teeth. But anyway, British daytime TV has rules. You can't show a fight, you can't humiliate guests for sport, and so on. America looked at these regulations and said, that sounds boring. The Jerry Springer Show became this cultural phenomenon. Schools banned kids from chanting Jerry. Side note, I prefer them chanting Jerry than 6, 7, whatever the hell that means. Politicians complained, religious groups wrote angry letters, and all of that just made it more popular. It was like feeding steroids directly into the concept of trash TV. Jerry himself stayed bizarrely calm through it all, standing in the middle of chaos with that soft politician smile. At the end of every episode, he'd do a little moral speech, called Final Thoughts, where he'd look into the camera and pretend the last 40 minutes of public nudity and crying somehow taught us about empathy. What a load of rubbish. I mean, can you imagine me going to the zoo and saying the exact same thing about me watching chimps throw their own feces at each other? But anyway, security guard Steve got his own spin-off, because of course he did. You can't have that much physical comedy without brand potential. The man built a career out of breaking up arguments between people who looked like they'd been cast by Craigslist. And it wasn't just fighting. The show expanded into every absurd theme possible. Secret affairs, bizarre fetishes, people dating household appliances. If it could be televised, Jerry televised it. There was even one episode where a woman married a horse. Not an actual legal wedding, obviously, but they still had a cake. That pretty much sums up the show better than any academic essay ever could. Someone brought a cake to that. You'd think audiences would get tired of it, but they didn't. It ran for nearly 3 decades, nearly as old as America itself. By the 2000s, however, it had become completely self-aware. They leaned into the absurdity. It was no longer pretending to be journalism. It was performance art for the chronically curious. To understand why Americans adored it, you have to understand America itself. It's a place that treats insanity like an export product, where emotional breakdowns are just another content format. The Jerry Springer Show eventually ended in 2018, which shocked everyone because most just assumed it had already been cancelled in around 2004, and just kept airing reruns out of sheer momentum. Jerry moved on to hosting Judge Jerry, because apparently the natural career progression from talk show fight referee is an actual judge. And look, as much as it's easy to mock, the show was oddly democratic. It gave ordinary people airtime, even if that airtime involved shouting "you slept with my cousin" as the crowd threw popcorn. It was the rawest form of participatory entertainment ever created. Jerry Springer remains a kind of cultural fossil, the show that became legendary precisely because it shouldn't have existed. So that's the Jerry Springer Show, a program that blurred the line between reality and pantomime until no one cared which was which. Hosted by a man too calm to be human, starring people too dramatic to be real, broadcast to a nation too entertained to question it.